When did you read this material for the first time? The book, digital book?
I was sent the book in late 2008 by Brad Pitt, which is a strange sentence. It hasn't been published yet. Take a look at this brother, just blind. So I read it, and I thought, this is fantastic, I'll never be able to make it, so let's go. So I started, they were very nice to me and said, we think that you would do a nice job with this, something that's abundantly not clear to you in the room today. So I said, okay, I'm going to take this on, and it became impossible.
And here we are.
And here we are, it's very strange.
Right. And what you saw in the material is, if I could just be allowed a little bit of interpretive leeway and say the pursuit of the sublime.
It actually didn't start that way. It started, I was very interested in his character, and it had to do with the striving, the social class thing, which I thought was very interesting. That here was a guy who was of great accomplishment in many ways, but was still extremely upset at himself and the world. And I suppose that what happened to me was that Z took on a kind of a, it wasn't, I mean, if he had found Z or Z, or if he had found Z, it wouldn't have really mattered, ultimately. In fact, it would have been kind of an anticlimax, because it was clearly the thing that he was using to project all of his disappointments in his life onto it. There's the thing at the end where Rob says in that scene where he says, if you basically, I just think that Z won't be all that it's cracked up to be when you find it. And I felt that that was the whole key to it. That, in a sense, it was the guy's method of coping with life's indignities. So that was the thing that stuck out first when I read the book, which is weird because it's not, I mean, if you read the book is quite good, by the way. In fact, it's excellent, which is why you shouldn't read it, because then you'll say, it's good, it's not as good, it's not as good. But the half the book is basically me, or a version of me, should be in the shtetl, 32 degrees below zero, candlelight. A writer, David Graham, is wonderful, going to the jungle. So that's half the book. The other half is Fawcett's life. Right. So I didn't want to do a thing where we're following basically me in the jungle, because I'm not all that interested. Oh. So I decided just to stick with straight. I think that it was sort of a weird adaptation for that reason, because it was not a straight ahead, okay, here's the narrative, it's very clear, and the script took a while to contemplate.
But then this also became very much the story of the man and the woman.
Well, yeah, because I didn't want it to be a biopic. I didn't want it to be only about Fawcett. I wanted it to be, that's why it's great that everybody is here on stage with me, because what I had wanted it to be was almost like a comment on an age, and a comment on not only who we were then, but who we are now. Because in a weird way, I feel like we fight the same battles. Obviously, one look at the front page of the newspaper tells you that, the patriarchy is in full force. So I thought
it's a little shaky.
Yeah,
but yeah, in some parts.
In some part, but so I thought that Siena's character was extremely important because the idea of I've talked about this before, the extension of our sympathies is crucial to making something that has some kind of lasting impact, and that is ultimately what you're going for. And so I tried to give her character as much importance and humanity in the story as Fawcett and Rob's character and Angus's character. In other words, everybody would have their moment to be in the film and to really, like I said, to make sure that the extension of our sympathies is in full force. I hope this makes some shred of sense. I don't know. At a certain point, it's like that joke we do with the Woody Allen, thing in Annie Hall, the subtitle. Christ, I sound like FM radio. It's true. I don't get out much.
Well, and yet here you are on the stage, and it's closing night.
It's very odd. It's very odd. The movie was finished 3 weeks ago. Delivered 3 weeks ago. So the idea that I'm here now is incredibly weird.
Back from the jungle.
Yeah, well, it's like, here it is, screen it, you know?
Could you talk about the experience of shooting in the jungle and how difficult it was to get film? And for you guys, I would imagine that there's a certain level of discomfort.
Oh, there's the jungle. It was pretty, but not.
It was horrible. What do you mean? Of course you shouldn't miss it. It's like I said, first of all, speaking for myself, Rock did great, by the way. But I'm, as I said, genetically engineered to be an accountant in the shell. So when you put me at 100 degrees and 100% humidity and bugs and the whole thing, and snakes and crocodiles and the whole thing, it was a ridiculous. I never told Rob this. Thank God the months now passed. But there's this scene in the movie where they're pushing the rafts, very shallow water in the Don Diego River where they're shooting. And at one point, close your ears, Bob. I see this thing run up the side, and that can't be a crocodile. So I called over one of the guides that we had, the Colombian guides, who were, by the way, terrific. And I said, there aren't crocodiles in this film. He says, no, there is nothing like that, nothing. I mean, you know where this is going. So we do another take, and I see the goddamn thing. I mean, I'm like, that's a crocodile. So I call him, it's a crocodile. No, it's not a crocodile. It's a black caiman. So of course, I get out the sat phone or whatever, I look up black caiman, and it's like, a variety of crocodiles. And the standard Florida crocodile. I'm like, that's the worst news I ever heard. So it was bad. I'm here, an insect with Charlie, who's now in Montenegro.
He's in the jungles of Montenegro.
Don't ask me. But he was like late 2 hours to set one day, and he was never late, and I said, well, what's wrong? And then I hear that he has had an insect crawl in his ear and is starting to eat his eardrum. And that was week 2, and it kind of went downhill from there. It was funny because you say all this stuff, you hear about Werner Herzog and Francis Coppola and all that, and you think you're smarter and better prepared. Well, you're not, and you can't. And you get down there, and it's brutal.
So, Siena, there were no crocodiles in Ireland, I guess.
No Belfast.
You had no problems. You were so cosseted and had only Belfast to deal with. This is why you guys are in front of the camera with a script.
Chilling. Yeah. Here comes the mic.
Can you talk about why it was important to shoot on 35mm film and whether you had to fight to get that?
Shot on 35 by the great Darius Kanji.
It's a very easy answer, okay? 35mm is better. I did a test. Well, no, it's just a fact. Darius and I did a blind test at the beginning. First of all, I never shot digital, so I'm not the right person to talk about this really with, because I hate it. But we shot the test with the Red, the Alexa. I didn't shoot the Alexa 65 because it wasn't in full bloom yet. But the Red, the Alexa, and I believe the Sony was the third, and then Kodak. And we filmed, we basically watched them blind. I said, oh, number 3 is way better than the others. And the producers were bummed because it was the Kodak. It was about $750,000 more, which is a lot, because it means 3 or 4 days of shooting. But at a certain point, and it's much harder, but at a certain point you think to yourself, at least I did, the audience does not see how easy it is for you. Congratulations, it's easy. We can see what we're getting, it's a thing, we all need to ship a thing, no problem. But it's not better for you. The better for you is to watch the end result, right? No picture ever said, shot on digital, but please excuse the fact that it looks a little crappy because it's easier for the filmmaker to say that. So, now having said that, what we did do was ridiculous. We had a film loader who we had to train out of Bogota, and he looked astonishingly like Sid Vicious. And we had this changing bag, and you know, as you do on the set, and he would sit there and he'd be like this. for like way longer than it should have taken, right? So I would sit there every day and watch him change in the film, and I'd be like, and then they would take the film out, they would load it in this crappy little cardboard box, and this little Cessna, a little single-engine crop duster, we're in Colombia, remember, would take the thing and go off this little runway, and you'd see it flying off, and then it would fly it to the local airport, which would fly it to Bogota, which would fly it to Miami, which would fly it to London. This was every day. So you'd always have this thing around noon every day. I don't know if Anthony Catalic's my producer, so you'd sit there at around noon, you'd get the call, Cinelab in London, did they get the stock, did they get it, they got it. And then 3 days, of course, went by when, guess what happened? Did they get it? They get it? It's been held in customs in Bogota. The man there was not sure what it is. And then there were other days when we finally got that release, but then there were other days where the film got very badly damaged. 2 days of shooting got very badly damaged. So it was not without cost. But I'm telling you, the movie, whether you like or hate it, it could not look this way on digital. It just couldn't. Now, another thing that's important is that the computer that I had down there was not working because it's so humid. So maybe, and I'm just saying this just to make myself feel better, if I had brought the digital camera down there, it would have taken a crap because my computer wasn't working. So it was very, it's ridiculous. I should stop talking. So. Yeah.
Well, first off, congratulations on a very fantastic film. One to address the elephants in the room. This is obviously a movie about Europeans in the Amazon. Comparisons to Werner Herzog's work is going to be inevitable. Did you familiarize yourself with Herzog's work in the Amazon, Fitzcarraldo, and Aguirre? And how do you, and if you did, how do you feel that this film differed from those films and what it tried to achieve?
Well, I didn't have to familiarize myself with Herzog. I had seen Herzog movies, you know, I saw Aguirre probably in 1982. I'm 1,000 years old, so I've seen it a long time ago. In fact, Kent can relate to this. I think I saw Aguirre and Fitzcarraldo in a double feature at the theater called the Thalia, which was up in
with the worst sight lines
the
in the
worst,
history.
right? You felt like you were taking off in an airplane. You had this weird dip, and
The rate was up.
yeah, it was horrible. But in a way, it was great. To be honest with you, I want to say this, make this very clear that I think Herzog is a truly great director, and I think those movies are brilliant. So that's I need to get that out there. But I wasn't interested in exploring what Herzog did because I don't think the movies are about the same thing really. In the end, it's not my job to sort of revisit or do a constant homage. I think I have to, whether I fail or not is another issue. But I have to take what's already existing and try and either take it a step further or in another direction. And I don't know. I mean, starting very simply, there's no woman of any consequence in anything that in the Herzog films that you're talking about. Yeah. And there's not really a, well, I don't want to get into this because it's like I'm bad mouthing Herzog. The movies are amazing, but I'm just saying about what they don't do. Look, I said this last week, pontificating as I can at this New Yorker thing I did. If you look at Herzog and Francis's movie, which is of course different, it's not the Amazon, but jungle and the hardships and making film in that environment. And then you look at, like I had just seen this film by George Cukor called Life of Her Own with Lana Turner and Rain the Land, which is not a great Cukor movie, but a good one. And you watch it and the sense of mise en scène and how he directs actors and where he puts them in relation to the camera and so forth, it's incredible. And I can never achieve that. Forget my lack of talent compared to George Cukor for a second. There's not the level of craft. You don't make 60, 70, 80 movies like they did. So there's no way I'm ever going to have that ability to master mise-en-scène. And I don't have 240 days or 270 days, whatever Francis took the entire Air Force of the Philippines. You know, I don't have that at my disposal. And Werner Herzog made his film in a very different way. So knowing that the means of production are going to, in a way, justify the aesthetic to some degree, that what I thought was important was to explore the idea that every character matters in the film, and every character's humanity matters in the film, and that extends, of course, to the indigenous, that if they have to be other, if the movie's about a blonde-haired Nazi-looking guy, Aryan guy, then at least I can justify the indigenous people as to having their own humanity, you know, a life that is not dependent on ours. I don't know if this makes any sense. So I was trying to distinguish the film in that way from those great filmmakers, because that's the area that I can explore without the limitations of lack of talent or time or whatever.
Thank you. Congratulations on a great film.
Thank you.
I wanted to just ask the actors how they oriented themselves within the world of this movie. I would imagine there would be different answers, but then did James show you guys anything for preparation?
You're up. No one's talking. Start talking.
I mean, how he oriented through it. He's an incredible collaborator, and completely available. And this conversation, James and I first met and talked about doing this maybe 7 years ago. With that all, yeah. But I mean, it was really just, I think for me specifically, it was finding a way of making her not just the wife, you know, finding depth and substance, because in that era she was really struggling against the confines of a very male, misogynistic society. Their relationship was completely specific and unique in that they were Buddhist and he was pro her being a suffragette. You know, she was very radical. Obviously the film wasn't about her, but we wanted to find the substance, and James and I constantly worked and explored ways of making her substantial, and of her being the sounding board and the bouncing board for really experiencing what it would be like to be left, and experiencing that, not just sort of seeing her go through it, which is very often the case in films and parts that I've played. It's, you know, you're the woman and you do your best to find out. But James is extraordinary and incredibly sensitive and understanding of women and appreciative of them. And so our conversations really revolved around digging and endless talks and availability.
I can really have had more of an immersive experience, and then I was just in the story. Didn't really have to do too much work. I was just in a crocodile tusk river.
As you know now.
Anyway, I found that out on the last day when it was a flash flood, and then about 30 came in, called me, and that's not so true. On that last day, yeah, we're stuck on a sandbank, surrounded by vicious and arbor vipers from the trees.
I didn't know that. During the flood, that last night?
They were coming to see me floating by.
The scene that Rob, by the way, Rob, I have to say, I haven't seen you in forever. I love what you did for the film, and it's totally, it's like an erasure of yourself in a great way. It's log rolling today, by the way. We're just going to keep complimenting each other on the stage, and you can watch. The scene that he's talking about is a campfire thing between Charlie and Rob, where they're talking about, and it seems like the first trip is going all to hell. And we had shot the medium, or I think I shot the close-ups, and I was going to go back to a medium close-up.
Instagram's about to explode.
I have to tell the story now, you know. I'm telling the story.
I should tell that story.
story.
You can, you should. You should. Anyway, to wrap it up quickly about something before he tells us that story. They were shooting this photo, and the water started to rise. That's what he said now. The water started to rise, and they said, "Oh, the river is going to flood the whole set." We were on the banks of the river, and I said, "Yeah, it'll take some time. Let's finish shooting the meeting close." But no, Mr. Gray, really, you need to leave the set now. And I look over, and literally the river is going like this. There was a rainstorm up in the mountains, and the water came down. And when the set was overtaken by the river, 2 minutes, and people literally grabbing stuff, whoa, running away, and I can't like the entertainment. Tell the story, Thomas.
So I broke my nose, right, on this movie. Not in a very heroic way. It was my last day of shooting. It was my last shot, in fact. And I had a fake moustache, because obviously I'm a child and can't grow a moustache yet. But James, as it was our last day, said, "Can I have your phone and look at some of the photos of your experience in Colombia?" I said, "Of course." I gave him my phone, he was flicking through, and there was a video of me doing a backflip on a beach. And he was like, "That's not you. There's no way that can," and I'm not the type of person to challenge. And I was like, "Well, just watch me." So I stood up, I had these stupid leather boots on, I tried to do a backflip, and just broke my face. And yeah, I remember, I mean, I've been a gymnast since I was a little kid, and it's been years since I haven't really landed one. And I remember hitting my face on the floor going, "Shit, that didn't happen." I stood up, I thought I'd knocked my teeth out, and the makeup artist was laughing at me, and then when she saw my face, it went from like, "Oh, medic!" And the guy came over and realigned my nose, and there was blood pouring out, and there was a big gash across the top of my nose. I was like, "It's over, I'm done." And then Anthony Angus came up to me and was like, "Tom, listen, we're going to send you to hospital, but can you finish your last shot?" Yeah, sure. So I had to stick my tash back on, and then it was the last shot of the movie. It was us being carried down to the river. And then I went to Bogota with no one. They sent me to Bogota, no one spoke English. They kept trying to pull my trousers down. And they were like, I was like, "No, it's my nose. My nose is broken." And they injected something in my leg, and I guess that made it all better. And then I went home and got it fixed. But yeah, so it was the craziest end to any movie I've ever made in my whole life, or ever will make.
I certainly hope so, but I will tell you that, just to make it clear, I didn't dare you. What happened is I did it. I saw you do this amazing Donald. You remember Donald O'Connor singing in the rain, making laugh, and he walks up the wall and does the flip? Okay. So he does that, and I say, you didn't do that. That's CGI. That's a camera tricks and mirrors. Joking. Yeah, are you saying, "No, I didn't do that"? I said, "No, that's a joke." "Yeah, I can do that." I said, "No, it's camera tricks, mirrors." And then he starts doing it. I said, no, don't do it. It was like sort of a slow motion. And you have the period boots on, and they're doing a flip in the jungle. Good luck to us.
I remember Marvel asking me what happened. Marvel were like, "What happened to your face?" I was like, "I just fell over." It's out now. I'm in trouble now.
I can't believe it. I've been in the jungle for months. I can't believe I just slipped my nose in a flip. I can't believe it.
That was a bad day.
I'm asking this question with almost 80-year-old eyes here, but your magnificent entertainment is the kind of film that 50, 60, 70 years ago would have been made by a big studio like MGM or by an Alexander Korda. And I'm wondering, since it's bearing the Amazon Studios logo, and since this is not the first time in this festival that we have seen new platforms like Amazon and Netflix that are bringing movies to the New York Film Festival. And I'm curious to know what your relationship has been with Amazon, and really how you feel Amazon is going to be a kind of major player here in shaping the entertainment that citizens and people of this country are going to be, and the world are going to be watching here in the near future.
I I have an excellent relationship with Amazon. It started when I needed paper towels, and I would go online and it's extended to books and everything else. Excellent supply now of eggs, I found. Apparently cinema. So there was that. I did not make it with Amazon. I made it with equity, and which was great because they allowed me to make the film, us to make the film that we all wanted to make. And then they acquired the film a couple of months ago. They're great as far as I can tell so far. The movie doesn't come out until 5 million years from now, but it seems like they let me play it here, so thanks for that. And I think they're great so far. The real truth, I'm of course being an ass, but which I'm excellent at. But what the real honest, truthful answer is that I think it reflects a moribund system, because I don't think that this film is a film that is so inaccessible that it should be made outside the system and struggling all that. This is the kind of movie that I think maybe whatever you think of the movie. It's the kind of movie that you would think studios should be making, right? It has some scale to it, but they don't. I mean, I love the people on the stage very much, and I love Tom, but they make superheroes. That's what they're doing now, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's, but there is, what is wrong with it is that that's the only thing they're making. They've become sclerotic. It's like they're so risk averse that there's nothing that you can possibly do now within that system that has any interesting aspect to it at all. So all my friends who are directors, none of us is making films that start with studios. We all start making films with other money, and then the studio either acquires it, or in my case, they can bury it, and it turns out great. No, so I have no idea how it's going to work out, but I think it reflects certainly a changing world, with the movies, and I think it's a sadness, because Truffaut said great cinema is part truth, part spectacle. So what you have when you have a disappearing middle is you have a lot of spectacle with no truth, and now you have movies made for $4 that are all truth but no spectacle. That middle, which was very beautiful, which was Alfred Hitchcock's world, which was John Ford's world, which actually was Orson Welles when he did Citizen Kane's world, is gone. That's a sadness, isn't it? So hopefully Amazon will fill that world. But it's not just an applause line either, is it? Because it's a cultural treasure that the United States had. This thing about the cinema, the studio system, and I'm not talking about the studio system just like 1948 or whatever, because obviously the new Hollywood made incredible films. Something is lost. It's like and it's the history of film is very weird, because it's like for centuries there was, of course, no cinema in human existence, so of course the cinema is only, sound cinema is 1927, right? So you're talking a very short period of time, and look how many great films were made, really, in the first 30, 40 years of cinema's existence. It's like the movies were meant to be. They're in us. When I love Wagner's operas, something that has endeared me greatly to my elder Jewish relative. I do love Wagner's operas, and when you see The Ring, it feels like Wagner was reaching for something that's past the opera. And I know that Wagner would have been a movie director, and probably a great one. The reason I'm saying this is that the human race needed cinema. And now we have it, and I'm worried about it. And it's been a very short period. Anyway.
My question is for Tom, and I was wondering how you cultivated the father-son relationship, because I think you established like a lot of complexity even just in the hospital scene, which is so short.
That may have been very long.
Sorry.
It's a question for Tom about how we cultivated the father-son relationship.
That's a good question. I think that started very early on in the process. Charlie and I immediately hit it off, and became very close, very good friends. And the way James works, he throws you in the deep end. There's no real like setup. There's no rehearsal. That's it. You go. And working with Charlie was something that I really learned a lot from, because he's someone who prepares more than anyone I've ever worked with. You ask Charlie a question about anything, and he has it ready to go. And that was very useful for me, because it meant that we could sit down and really break scenes down and talk about where we come from the book, from the script, and what we wanted to bring to the screen. Especially in the jungle, I mean, it was terrible. It was a terrible place to be, and when you make a movie like this, it has to be as realistic as possible. And Charlie and I mean, you guys too. I mean, I saw the movie just with you guys. We really were thrown in at the deep end, and to be there with someone, you bond very quickly, and you form very strong relationships. And I think that's what we across on screen.
Angus, what was your experience in the jungle? And by the way, you're amazing in the movie.
I actually kind of enjoyed the jungle, because it was a very different experience from all the other actors who were basically eating an apple a day and starving themselves in order to look like cadavers. And I heard that there was this one camp where the actors were staying with and they were basically, no TV, no Wi-Fi, none of this, and starving themselves. And then there was the director's little area where, and the guy can really cook pasta. And he's been boasting about it in Belfast all this time. So I basically moved into his camp, and every night we would come back, and this guy, after a 12, 14-hour day, would then go to the kitchens and start cooking up the pasta for the whole crew, for like 14 people and stuff. And boy, was it good. And I had a good excuse to eat, because the characters actually eating all the caramels and all this stuff. So I basically ate 2 bowls of big, gigantic pasta every night, and it was a really good time. But there is one thing which I just realized, because I used to go into we were working on the river a lot, and you could see the glacier, which has been there for 1 million years, about 50 miles up in the Sierra Nevadas, and there was this water coming down in the river, and it was like cool, and there was the jungle, it was boiling hot, but the water was cool, and I would get in it up to here and go, everybody, come on, get in the water, look, you can drink it. And I was like, it tastes really good, come on, everybody. And everybody was just staring at me like, this guy's fucking crazy. And I've just realized why, because there were crocodiles.
No, it's Black Cayman. It is true, we did make a lot of pasta. I had a large amount of pasta boxes shipped to us and brought to us in large suitcases, like it was contraband. And burgers too. Burgers one day. My assistant drove 50 bajillion miles, this was at the end of the shoot, to Barranquilla in Colombia, which is a major city, and bought beef. That was really at the end, we were pretty struggling. I mean, I had my ritual, which was my cornflakes box in the morning, my Cliff Bar banana lunch, and my pasta dinner. I lost 20 pounds or something, and we all looked like homeless men, beards down to here. Anyway, you guys did eat a lot of pasta.
We also all made a great movie. Thank you.